They thought Earth was weak, but humans burned the stars in revenge. Dr. Jin-Woo Kim stood at the observation deck, watching the massive Tellurian ship hover above Seoul. 6 months had passed since humanity first detected the alien signals, and now they were here. Tall, four-armed beings with sleek technology beyond Earth's understanding. The year was 2089, and humans had only recently established permanent bases on Mars. The gulf between Earth's capabilities and the visitors was staggering. "They're scanning our power grids again," said Dr. Kim's assistant, Hyun-soo. Her eyes never left the monitoring equipment. "Third time this week," Jin-Woo nodded, rubbing his tired eyes. Something about the Tellurians' interest in Earth's infrastructure bothered him. They claimed to be scholars and explorers, offering technological gifts that promised to solve humanity's energy crisis. Yet their questions probed military capabilities, resource locations, and population centers. "The UN Council wants answers by tomorrow," Hyun-soo said. "They're voting on whether to accept the reactor technology." Jin-Woo studied the alien ship's hull, noting how its design resembled nothing so much as a predator. Sleek, efficient, with what looked suspiciously like weapon ports despite the Tellurians' insistence they were merely science vessels. "Tell them I need another week," he replied. "The energy output calculations don't add up. A reactor that small producing that much power would violate several laws of physics as we understand them." That evening, Jin-Woo received an unexpected visitor at his apartment. Admiral Tae-ho Park arrived unannounced, his usually crisp uniform rumpled from a long day. "We need to talk," the Admiral said, checking Jin-Woo's windows before closing the blinds. "Off the record." Jin-Woo offered tea, which the Admiral declined. "I've been monitoring their communications," Park said quietly. "Our best codebreakers can't decipher most of it, but certain patterns are emerging. Their transmissions spike whenever they finish mapping a new region of Earth. They told the UN those were scientific readings," Jin-Woo said. "Science doesn't need targeting coordinates," Park replied, sliding a tablet across the table. "These are military scan patterns. I've seen them before in our own naval exercises." Jin-Woo studied the data, his stomach sinking. The political pressure to accept their help is enormous. 3 billion people still lack reliable electricity. Their fusion technology could change everything, or end everything, Park countered. "Look at history. When has a technologically superior civilization ever peacefully contacted a less advanced one without eventual domination?" The next day, Jin-Woo stood before the Tellurian delegation. Their translator, a device that converted their high-pitched clicks into human language, sat between them. "Your reactor design," Jin-Woo began carefully, "contains elements our scientists cannot explain. Before Earth accepts this gift, we request more detailed specifications." The lead Tellurian, who called himself speaker, tilted his elongated head. "Our technology is complex. Your scientists will learn through implementation. We've noticed your scans focus primarily on our defense systems," Jin-Woo continued, watching for reactions. "Pure scientific curiosity?" A slight ripple passed through the Tellurian's posture. Speaker's secondary arms twitched. A gesture Jin-Woo had learned indicated surprise or discomfort. "We study all aspects of new civilizations," Speaker replied smoothly. "The Tellurian hegemony has peaceful relations with 17 spacefaring species." "And how many non-spacefaring ones?" Jin-Woo asked. The room fell silent. That evening, Jin-Woo called Admiral Park. "They're hiding something." When I questioned their intentions, their body language changed completely. "The president just approved their offer to build a lunar base together," Park said grimly. "Construction begins next month." Over the next 3 years, the Tellurians became fixtures in human society. They established outposts across Earth, bringing technological wonders that transformed daily life. Clean energy, advanced medicine, enhanced agriculture. Each gift made humans more dependent on their benefactors. Jin-Woo, now heading the United Earth Science Commission, maintained his skepticism. He quietly assembled a team of researchers, who worked independently from the Tellurian human joint projects. Hidden in an underground facility in Norway, they reverse-engineered alien technology piece by piece. Their systems all contain redundancies, reported Sunmi, Jinwoo's chief engineer, components that serve no function for the stated purpose of each device. What functions do they serve? Jinwoo asked. We're not sure yet, but they all connect to a communication array that activates on a frequency different from their standard transmissions. Admiral Park, meanwhile, had been sidelined to a desk job after repeatedly raising concerns about Earth's growing reliance on Tellurian tech. Still, he maintained a network of loyal officers who quietly prepared for the worst, stockpiling conventional weapons and training for scenarios the political leadership dismissed as paranoid. Then came the day Jinwoo discovered the truth hidden in the reactor designs. Working late in the Norway lab, he finally decoded the purpose of the redundant systems. They're not redundancies, he whispered as the computer simulation completed. They're weapons components. The reactors can be converted into massive energy weapons with a single command signal. He reached for his secure phone to call Park, but before he could dial, the ground shook violently. Emergency lights flashed as the bunker's systems registered, massive energy signatures worldwide. Jinwoo rushed to the communication center. Screens showed cities around the globe erupting in blue fire. The Tellurian ships, once peaceful sentinels above Earth's major cities, now rained destruction. Every gift they had given, every reactor, medical facility, and agricultural center, had transformed into a weapon. They're hitting population centers first, said Sunmi, her face illuminated by the emergency lights. Military bases second. Can we contact Admiral Park? Jinwoo asked. All standard communications are down, she replied. But we still have the quantum entanglement prototype. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, Admiral Park received Jinwoo's message as his submarine shuddered from distant explosions. The attack they had feared for 3 years had begun. Begin Operation Dark Shield, he ordered, and send word to all cells. Humanity stands alone now, but we will not fall silently. Above them, Earth burned. The Tellurians had revealed their true nature. They thought Earth was weak, a primitive world ripe for conquest. They would learn how wrong they were. 3 years after first contact, Earth lay in ruins. What began as a devastating surprise attack had turned into systematic destruction. Major cities had been reduced to skeletal remains, their once proud skylines now jagged silhouettes against blood-red skies. The Tellurians struck without mercy or warning, their energy weapons cutting through Earth's defenses like fire through paper. Ha-Yoon Lee huddled over her workstation in the hidden research facility deep within the Andes Mountains. Outside, constant acid rain fell, a side effect of the atmospheric changes caused by the Tellurian bombardment. The small lab had once been a geological research station, its existence unknown to all but a few before the invasion. Now it served as one of humanity's few remaining scientific outposts. Power fluctuations again, muttered Jae-min, Ha-Yoon's research partner, as the lights dimmed momentarily. Generators struggling with the load. Ha-Yoon barely looked up from her microscope. We need another hour at most. The cellular response is almost measurable. What remained of humanity had scattered like ants from a broken hill, some into underground bunkers built during old wars, others into remote wilderness areas or hidden mountain facilities like this one. Communication between these pockets of survivors happened rarely and at great risk. The Tellurians hunted humans with terrible efficiency, using the very infrastructure they had helped build to track down resistance. Ha-Yoon had been a neurologist before the invasion, specializing in sensory perception. Jinwoo Kim had recruited her to his Norway team just weeks before the attack. She had been in transit to his facility when the first energy beam struck Seoul, vaporizing her family and home in seconds. Only her delayed flight had saved her life. Look at this, she said, moving aside so Jae-min could peer through the microscope. Human neurons exposed to Tellurian energy fields. On the slide, human nerve cells pulsed with faint blue light, forming patterns that shifted in response to the energy field being generated nearby. They're responding, Jamin whispered. But how? That shouldn't be possible. Ha-Yun allowed, herself a small smile, the first in months. Our brains evolved on a planet with a unique electromagnetic field. We developed sensitivity to energy patterns the Tellurians can't perceive. She pulled up brain scans on her tablet. See these regions? They activate when exposed to the energy signatures in Tellurian technology. It's subtle, but it's there, like a sixth sense we never knew we had because we never encountered these energy patterns before. A sudden explosion rocked the facility, sending dust cascading from the ceiling. Their eyes met in alarm. They've found us, Jamin said. Grabbing her research data, Ha-Yun followed Jamin through the emergency tunnel that led deeper into the mountain. Behind them, they could hear the hiss and crackle of Tellurian energy weapons. The smell of ozone filled the air. The samples, Ha-Yun cried, turning back. Jamin caught her arm. We have the data. That's what matters now. They emerged hours later from a hidden exit high on the mountainside. Below them, black smoke rose from what had been their home for the past year. Tellurian ships hovered like vultures, their sleek forms gleaming in the hazy sunlight. We need to find Admiral Park, Ha-Yun said, clutching her precious data drive. This could change everything. The journey north took months. They traveled by night, hiding during the day from Tellurian patrols. The world had become unrecognizable. Once, fertile valleys were now barren wastelands. Cities stood as tombs. The few humans they encountered lived like frightened animals, scavenging among ruins. In what had once been Vancouver, they finally made contact with the Resistance. A scout brought them blindfolded to an underground command center built within, an old subway system. Admiral Tejo Park had aged decades in 3 years. His once black hair now shone silver, his face carved with new lines of grief and determination. But his eyes still burned with the same intensity Ha-Yun remembered from news broadcasts before the invasion. Dr. Lee, he said, rising from his chair as she was led in. Jinwoo told me about your work before we lost contact with Norway. Ha-Yun swallowed hard at the mention of Jinwoo. Is he? Park shook his head slightly. We don't know, but your arrival might be the first good news we've had in years. She connected her data drive to their system and explained her findings. The Tellurians can't perceive these energy fields the way humans can. It's like they're colorblind to a spectrum we can see. How does this help us fight back? Asked a scarred woman Ha-Yun later learned was General Yoon, former commander of South Korea's Cyber Warfare Division. Their technology operates on principles they understand but can't directly perceive, Ha-Yun explained. It would be like us building machines that emit smells without having a sense of smell ourselves. We could measure the molecules but never experience the sensation. And this gives us an advantage? Park asked. It means we can potentially manipulate their technology in ways they won't detect, Ha-Yun said, and possibly develop our own technologies that they literally cannot see. Over the following months, Ha-Yun worked with the Resistance's remaining scientists to develop what they called ghost tech, devices that operated within the energy spectrum humans could perceive, but Tellurians could not. Their first success came with communication devices that allowed resistance cells to coordinate without detection. Then came sensors that could detect Tellurian patrols from kilometers away. 6 months after Ha-Yun's arrival, they captured their first Tellurian ship. Their systems are even more vulnerable than we thought, said Giho, their lead engineer, as they examined the vessel. They have no shielding against the frequencies we can manipulate because they don't know they exist. Admiral Park gazed at the captured ship, his expression unreadable. How long until we can replicate their weapons? A year, maybe less, Giho replied. But we've found something more interesting. He pointed to the ship's power core. Their entire energy system runs on principles we're just beginning to understand. If we can master this, we might develop technologies beyond even their capabilities. That night, Ha-Yun found Park standing alone, looking at an old photograph of Earth, taken from space before the invasion. Blue oceans, white clouds, green and brown land masses. We were so unprepared, he said quietly. So trusting. They thought we were weak, Ha-Yun replied. That was their mistake. Park looked at her, something like hope flickering in his tired eyes. Will your discoveries be enough? Hayun thought. Of all she had lost, her family, her home, her world. They have to be, she said. Because what the Tellurians don't understand is that humans don't just adapt. When pushed to the edge of extinction, we evolve. 10 years had passed since the skies burned and Earth fell. The Tellurian occupation had settled into a grim routine. Massive harvesting machines crawled across continents, stripping away resources. Orbital platforms monitored the planet's surface, their sensors sweeping for any unauthorized human gatherings. In designated labor zones, the remaining human population toiled under alien overseers, mining rare minerals and assembling components for the ever-expanding Tellurian fleet. From his hidden command center deep beneath the ruins of what had once been Kyoto, Admiral Tejo Park studied the global tactical display. Green dots representing resistance cells blinked across all continents, small flames of defiance in the darkness of occupation. Sydney Cell reports successful raid on the processing facility, reported Su-Min Kang, the young physicist who had become one of Park's most valuable assets. Minimum casualties, maximum damage. Park nodded approvingly. And the test? Complete success, Su-Min replied, unable to hide her excitement. The disruption wave collapsed their shield grid for exactly 47 seconds, more than enough time for our people to get in and out. 10 years ago, Su-Min had been a graduate student working on theoretical applications of quantum field manipulation. Now she led the Resistance's scientific division, turning theory into weapons. Her latest creation used Earth's natural electromagnetic field to generate pulses that interfered with Tellurian technology. Can they trace it? Park asked. That's the beauty, Su-Min said, her tired face lighting up. The wave uses energy patterns they physically cannot perceive. To them, it looks like random equipment failure. Park allowed himself a small smile, a rare sight these days. His once military bearing remained, but time had bent his shoulders and whitened his hair. The scar running from his left eye to his jaw, a souvenir from a close encounter with the Tellurian patrol 3 years ago, pulled tight when he smiled. Then we're ready for the next phase, he said. Send the signal. Tonight we show them what humans are capable of. In the decades since the invasion, the Resistance had evolved from scattered survivors into a coordinated global force. Using Dr. Hayun Lee's discoveries about human neurological sensitivity to certain energy patterns, they had developed technology the Tellurians couldn't detect or counter. The quantum communication network was their greatest achievement, instantaneous, untraceable messaging that linked resistance cells worldwide. Tonight it would synchronize their first planet-wide assault. In a repurposed mining tunnel beneath the Canadian Rockies, Hayun checked her equipment one final time. Around her, 24 fighters prepared for battle, loading weapons reverse-engineered from captured Tellurian technology. Remember, she told them, aim for the junction points we identified. Their armor is strongest at the front, weakest where the limbs connect. A young woman named Ji Young looked nervously at her rifle. Will these really work against them? We've all seen our bullets bounce off their shields. Hayun patted the modified weapon. These aren't ordinary bullets. Each carries a micropulse generator tuned to the frequency we discovered. When it hits their shield, it creates a momentary window for penetration. At precisely midnight GMT, resistance cells across the planet launched coordinated attacks on Tellurian command posts, harvesting facilities, and patrol ships. In New Delhi, fighters infiltrated the central processing hub. In Cairo, they sabotaged the water purification plant the aliens had converted to extract rare minerals from the Nile. In Rio, they destroyed the communication relay that coordinated Tellurian activities across South America. Hayun led her team through the underground passages that brought them directly beneath the Vancouver Control Center, one of 7 major Tellurian administrative hubs on Earth. Their target was not the structure itself, but something far more valuable: information. Charges set, whispered Dae-sung, their demolitions expert. Ready on your mark. Hayun checked the time. 3, 2, 1. Now. The tunnel ceiling collapsed in a controlled explosion. Simultaneously, Su-Min's disruption wave, amplified by transmitters planted around the continent washed over the facility. Tellurian alarm systems fell silent. Security fields fizzled out. The resistance fighters surged upward through the newly created opening, catching the aliens completely unprepared. 5 minutes, Hayun reminded her team as they raced through eerily silent corridors. Get to the central data core. The control room doors slid open to reveal 3 Tellurians frantically working at their stations. Their tall, four-armed forms froze at the sight of armed humans. Before they could react, precision shots dropped them where they stood. Cover me, Hayun said, rushing to the main console. Her fingers flew across the alien interface. Now familiar after years of studying captured equipment, she inserted the quantum storage device Suman had created, designed to bypass Tellurian security protocols by operating in energy spectrums they couldn't monitor. 2 minutes left, warned Ji Young from the doorway. Almost there, Hayun muttered. The screen before her flooded with data, Tellurian fleet movements, resource allocation projections, and most critically, communications with their homeworld. As the last pieces of data transferred, a piercing alarm finally cut through the air. The disruption wave was wearing off. Time to go, Hayun called, grabbing the storage device. They retreated back through the tunnels just as Tellurian security forces swarmed the control center. By dawn, they were 50 kilometers away, hidden in an abandoned mining facility. Was it worth it? Ji Young asked as Hayun examined the stolen data. Hayun's eyes widened as she processed what she was seeing. More than worth it, she whispered. This changes everything. Back at the main resistance headquarters, Admiral Park and Su Min reviewed reports from around the globe. Of the 57 simultaneous strikes, 52 had succeeded beyond expectations. For the first time since the invasion, the Tellurians had been caught completely off guard. They're in chaos, Su Min said, monitoring Tellurian communication channels. They can't understand how we coordinated attacks on this scale or how we bypassed their security. And they're scared, added Park, reading between the lines of the frantic alien transmissions. They've never encountered a species that adapted to their technology so quickly. When Hayun's team arrived with the stolen data, the command center erupted in controlled excitement. The information confirmed what they had suspected. The Tellurian presence on Earth was just one small part of their empire, but they had committed significant resources to this conquest because of Earth's unique mineral composition. They're stretched thin, Park said, studying the fleet deployments, fighting wars on multiple fronts against other species. And look at this. Hayun pointed to a section of data. Their reports back to their high command. They're lying about their progress here, claiming Earth is fully pacified. They don't want reinforcements sent because they're afraid it would reveal their failures. Su Min analyzed the technical specifications contained in the data. Their weapons, their ships. It's all based on principles we've already begun to understand. With this information, we could potentially build our own. Park finished the sentence. Not just countering their technology, but improving on it. For the first time in 10 years, genuine hope filled the room. The Tellurians had invaded Earth expecting an easy conquest. They had dismissed humans as primitive, incapable of comprehending advanced technology, let alone resisting effectively. As reports continued flowing in from successful operations worldwide, Admiral Park addressed the assembled resistance leaders, his voice steady with controlled emotion. Today marks the beginning of a new phase in our struggle, he said. The Tellurians thought Earth was weak. They thought humans would submit or perish. What they failed to understand is that humanity doesn't break under pressure. We transform. We adapt. We evolve. He gestured to the data screen showing Tellurian installations burning across the globe. And now we fight back. The Resistance's unprecedented global strike changed everything. News spread through hidden human settlements like wildfire. The invincible Tellurians had been bloodied. For the first time in 12 years, humans dared to hope. Commander Yoonji Yoon stood on the observation deck of the Resistance's hidden shipyard, deep within the Antarctic ice shelf. Below her, hundreds of engineers and scientists swarmed over the hull of humanity's first starship. The vessel, codenamed Phoenix, gleamed under the harsh work lights. Impressive, isn't it? Said Jiho Choi, joining her at the railing. Once a theoretical physicist specializing in exotic energy states, he now headed the Phoenix Project. Will it actually fly? Yoonji asked. Her background as a former fighter pilot made her skeptical of untested technology. Not only fly, Jiho replied, his exhausted face lighting up with pride, but travel faster and more efficiently than anything the Tellurians have. 3 months after the global strike, something unexpected happened. A small, unfamiliar spacecraft appeared in Earth orbit, broadcasting on frequencies the Resistance used. It carried representatives from the Astral Collective, a loose alliance of species who had also suffered under Tellurian expansion. The aliens, sleek, 6-limbed beings with iridescent skin, were amazed by humanity's progress. Your species has adapted to Tellurian technology faster than any civilization we've encountered, their ambassador had told Admiral Park. Most take generations to reverse engineer even basic Tellurian systems. You've done it in a decade. The alliance they offered was simple. The collective would provide advanced navigation charts and stellar cartography in exchange for human assistance against common Tellurian targets. What the collective didn't offer was military aid. They had suffered recent defeats and were in retreat across multiple sectors. They need us more than we need them, Admiral Park had said after the meeting. But their star charts are valuable. For the first time, we can locate the human labor colonies the Tellurians established. Now, 6 months later, the Phoenix was nearly ready for its maiden voyage. Admiral Park is waiting in the war room, said a young aide approaching Unji and Jiho. The final briefing is about to begin. The war room buzzed with controlled energy as key resistance leaders gathered around a holographic display showing nearby star systems. Yoonji took her place at the table beside Su-Min Kang, whose disruptive energy field technology had been crucial to recent victories. The Phoenix drive is ready, Jiho announced as Admiral Park entered. Final tests exceeded expectations. Park nodded, his weathered face showing rare satisfaction. Explain it once more for everyone. Jiho activated a simplified simulation. Conventional Tellurian drives harvest ambient energy from stars, storing it for later use. Inefficient but effective for their purposes. The simulation changed to show a more complex energy flow. Our Phoenix drive doesn't just harvest stellar energy, it creates a resonance pattern with it. Think of it like a swimmer moving with the current instead of fighting against it. The result is exponentially greater speed and range. All thanks to our unique neurological perception, added Hyun Lee, who had joined the meeting via quantum link from the Americas Command Center. We can perceive and manipulate energy patterns the Tellurians literally cannot see. And our target? Asked Yoonji. Admiral Park expanded the hologram to show a star system 11 light-years from Earth. Proxima Colony. Intelligence suggests it's where the Tellurians took the first wave of human captives after the invasion. Approximately 30,000 of our people are being held there, working in mining operations. Yoonji studied the defensive layout displayed in the hologram. Their security looks light. 4 patrol vessels, minimal orbital defenses. They're not expecting us, said Su-Min. As far as the Tellurians know, humans are planet-bound primitives. The idea that we could reach them across interstellar space is inconceivable to them. That's our advantage, Park said firmly. Complete surprise. This mission has 2 objectives: liberate our people and demonstrate that humanity can now strike beyond Earth. The psychological impact of humans appearing in Tellurian space cannot be overstated. Phoenix Squadron leaves in 48 hours, Park continued. Commander Yoon will lead the operation. Yoonji felt all eyes turn to her. At 34, she was young for such responsibility, but loss and hardship had forged her generation into steel. She had flown her first combat mission against the Tellurians at 17, shooting down an alien patrol ship with a jury-rigged weapon mounted on a decades-old jet. We won't fail, she said simply. The next 2 days passed in a blur of preparation. The Phoenix would be accompanied by 4 smaller craft, converted Tellurian shuttles enhanced with human innovations. Together, they represented everything humanity had learned and developed over 12 bitter years of occupation. On the morning of departure, Yunji addressed her crew, 80 men and women selected from resistance cells worldwide. What we do today changes the nature of this war, she told them. The Tellurians came to Earth believing we were easy prey. They thought our technological development made us weak and dependent. Today, we show them how wrong they were. The launch was conducted in total electromagnetic silence. The Phoenix and its escort ships slipped from the hidden Antarctic base, rising through the atmosphere using gravity manipulation technology rather than conventional thrust. Tellurian monitoring stations detected nothing. Once beyond lunar orbit, Jiho gave the command, "Activate Phoenix Drive." The stars blurred around them as the ship surged forward, riding waves of stellar energy in ways the Tellurians had never imagined possible. The journey to Proxima Colony, a trip that would take Tellurian ships months, took them just over 3 days. "Approaching Proxima System," announced the navigation officer. "No indication they've detected us." Yunji studied the tactical display. "Maintain stealth approach. Target the communication relay first, then the patrol vessels." The Tellurians had no warning. The Phoenix emerged from hyperspace behind Proxima's moon, completely masking its energy signature. The smaller escort ships immediately launched, heading for the orbital defense platforms while Phoenix targeted the system's central communication array. "They're scrambling patrol ships," reported the tactical officer. Too late. Weapons based on Sumin's disruptive field technology utterly overwhelmed Tellurian shields. The patrol vessels, caught unprepared, fell quickly. Within hours, the entire system was under human control. Landing parties descended to the colony surface. The Tellurian overseers, cut off from reinforcement and facing weapons they couldn't comprehend, surrendered or fled to the wilderness. Yunji led the first team into the main colonial compound. What they found staggered even her battle-hardened heart. Thousands of humans worked in vast mining pits, their bodies thin from years of poor nutrition and harsh conditions. Many had been children when taken from Earth. All showed signs of brutal treatment. An older man approached Yunji, his eyes wide with disbelief at the sight of armed humans in unfamiliar uniforms. "Are you from Earth?" he asked, voice cracking. "Yes," she replied, removing her helmet. "We've come to take you home." The news spread through the labor camp. Captives wept, embraced, some falling to their knees in prayer or shock. Many couldn't believe rescue was real after so many years of hopelessness. From the command center, Yunji sent a quantum transmission back to Earth. Proxima secured, all humans alive, returning with survivors, and captured Tellurian technology. The response from Admiral Park was brief. "Well done. Astral Collective reports Tellurian High Command in chaos. They cannot comprehend how humans reached Proxima. Your next targets are being prepared." As Phoenix and its escorts prepared for the journey home, loaded with freed colonists and Tellurian technology, Yunji watched the colony from orbit. 12 years of occupation had taught humanity harsh lessons. They had lost much: their cities, their infrastructure, billions of lives. But they had gained something the Tellurians never expected: the ability to adapt, to understand, and ultimately to surpass alien technology. "Set course for Earth," she ordered, "and then prepare for our next mission. This is just the beginning." 25 years after the Tellurians' devastating invasion of Earth, the massive human warship Vindication dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Tellurian home system. Unlike the sleek organic curves of Tellurian vessels, human ships were angular and imposing, their hulls embedded with energy matrices visible only to human eyes. The Phoenix drive that powered them left a distinctive blue trail across space, a calling card that had become feared throughout Tellurian territory. On the bridge, Admiral Tejo Park stood with his hands clasped behind his back, gazing at the viewscreen. At 73, he remained straight-backed and clear-eyed, though his hair had long since turned snow-white. The years of fighting had etched permanent lines into his face, but today they seemed less pronounced. Today might finally bring an end to humanity's long struggle. Tellurian Defense Fleet is responding exactly as predicted, reported his tactical officer. They're forming a defensive perimeter around their homeworld. Park nodded. And our other vessels? All in position, sir. The Phoenix squadrons have emerged at their designated coordinates. Across the star system, over 200 human warships had appeared simultaneously, surrounding the Tellurian homeworld and its colonies. It was the largest military operation in human history, the culmination of a war that had transformed humanity from victims to a formidable interstellar power. Open a channel to their high command, Park ordered. All frequencies, all languages they understand. Ha-Yun Lee joined him at the front of the bridge. Now in her 60s, she had become the diplomatic face of human resistance. The two of them had led humanity through its darkest hours and its greatest triumphs. It was fitting they should stand together now. Channel open, the communications officer announced. This is Admiral Tae-Ho Park and Dr. Ha-Yun Lee of the United Earth Fleet. Park began, his voice steady. We address the Tellurian High Command directly. The view screen flickered, showing the interior of an ornate chamber. 3 Tellurians stood in the center, taller than their warrior caste, with more elaborate markings on their exoskeletons. Behind them sat the Tellurian High Council, 24 of the Empire's most powerful leaders. You violate sovereign Tellurian space, the central figure announced, its translator converting the clicks and whistles into human language. Withdraw immediately or face destruction. Park's expression didn't change. You mistake the situation. We are not here to ask permission. We are here to dictate terms. He nodded to his tactical officer, who pressed a sequence of commands. Throughout the system, 24 uninhabited Tellurian mining outposts suddenly flared brilliant white as targeted. Energy weapons struck their power cores. The explosions were visible even from this distance, tiny new stars briefly outshining the system's sun. That demonstration used less than 5% of our fleet's capability, Park continued calmly. The next targets will not be unmanned, outposts. The Tellurian leaders conferred hurriedly among themselves, clearly shocked by the precision and power of the attack. What do you want? The central figure finally asked.